Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, today's Thursday, January 30th, 2025, coming up on Roland Uncooked, streaming live on the Black Start Network. We heard today one of the most racist and sexist news conferences ever held by someone occupying the Oval Office. We will show you what Donald Trump, his grossly unqualified Vice President and Secretary of Defense, had to say in blaming Black and brown people and women for the crash in Washington, D.C. that claimed the lives of 67 passengers as well as 3 military members. We'll chat with Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, who is chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, about that. All of this was happening while 3 of his most unqualified picks to be in his cabinet, Kash Patel leading the FBI, RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr. leading the Health and Human Services, as well as, of course, Tulsi Gabbard being the Director of National Intelligence, had their Senate hearings, and the media wasn't covering. And I got a special thing to say to white women. Understand something. The attacks on DEI includes you. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, I'm driving in the nation's capital, and it's happening at DCA, the airport in Washington, D.C., where there is a effort underway, a recovery effort, as it relates to the crash last night between a military helicopter, a Black Hawk helicopter, and an American Airlines regional jet. The helicopter carried 3 soldiers. The regional jet had 67 passengers and crew. All are presumed dead. They right now, it's no longer a mission trying to save lives. It is a recovery mission of those who have perished. This took place last night around 9 p.m. Eastern, when the helicopter as well as the plane crashed as the plane was on its descent to Washington, D.C. It is horrific. It is the first major air disaster in the United States since 2009. It is the first time in American history that a military aircraft has collided with a commercial aircraft. Earlier today, there was a shameful and despicable news conference where you heard the most racist and sexist attacks ever emanating from the Oval Office. I'm going to play those in just a bit, but I want to get right to our first guest, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke of New York. She is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. And Congresswoman, glad to have you here. I was appalled and ashamed with what I heard this morning. First of all, I purposely choose not to watch any of these news conferences with Donald Trump and his minions because all it's going to do is get blood pressure up. I said, I'll go back and look at things later. My dad called me. Friends called me. They text. And they were shocked. They were like, do you believe what is going on here? And to watch the occupant, because I don't call that man the president, to watch the occupant of the Oval Office, to watch the Secretary of Defense, who is grossly unqualified for his job, to watch the Vice President, grossly unqualified for his job, to watch a former reality show contestant who is now the Secretary of Transportation, grossly unqualified for his job, stand before the American people and blame DEI for an airplane crash that has left 70 people dead. Bodies are still in the water, and those idiots stood before the cameras and went on an attack on DEI. Have you seen anything more shameful from an occupant of the Oval Office?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Roland. And we do want to extend our deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of the individuals who were both on the American Airlines Flight 5342, as well as our military personnel that we lost in this horrific crash. Let me say that what we saw on display today from Donald Trump was a continuum of an ongoing effort to marginalize, to justify white supremacy, white male supremacy, and all of the manifesto known as Project 2025 to be able to move forward with the destruction of our communities, of our families, of our organizations, and we're not having it. It was a shameful display from Donald Trump and his administration today in a press conference that showed that they have not an empathetic bone in their bodies, that they would take this occasion while it is still raw in the lives of those who have lost loved ones, of those who may be traumatized in this nation by the fact that we had a military aircraft collide with a commercial airliner right in our nation's capital. For them to use that moment to go after, to speculate, first of all, to speculate about the causes of this horrific tragedy without any real regard for those families that are still receiving their loved ones. Some may not have even had an opportunity yet to connect with the remains of their dearly departed. This is what we're up against. We knew this from day one. And from day one, the actions of this administration, be the executive orders, be it this mass deportation action that is taking place across the nation, has demonstrated that we have to take Donald Trump at his word, and we're not having it. We are fighting back, and we will make sure that this administration knows that diversity, equity, and inclusion are what makes this nation great.
And what is stunning here, a commander-in-chief always is very, very cautious and sympathetic and empathetic when members of the military lose their lives. And he stood up there. And you're right, no evidence. The investigation hasn't even started. And DEI, all qualified people. You have Peter Hegseth. We're going to be colorblind in our choices. We're going to play the clip later. And when I saw the clips, when I saw these comments, I sat there and I said, these are absolute racist and sexist attacks. And what they were saying to everyone is that the only people who they believe are qualified to have jobs in this country are white heterosexual men. Because let's be clear, they want the world to think, when they say DEI, they want that to be think black, think brown, but for every white woman, that includes you, because the reality is 75% of the DEI jobs in corporations held by white people. When you look at the MWBE contracts in the federal government, 78% of those contracts, white women. And so we need to understand what is at play here. So white women need to understand they are saying you too are unqualified for these jobs.
Well, listen, we know that we are dealing with an administration that has decided to close ranks with white supremacists, that has decided to facilitate the type of discrimination and bigotry that we thought we had left behind as a nation generations ago. And everything indicates to me that they are prepared in this moment to step on civil rights, civil liberties, the Constitution, whatever it takes to bring about a white supremacist agenda and to marginalize and exploit the talent, the work, and the expertise of everyone else in our civil society. And we just can't abide with that. We're not going back.
And again, I've seen people say, well, I have no evidence of him being a white supremacist, a white nationalist. What you saw today was Exhibit A, because to jump out there in front of the cameras, and when they say DEI, that's the new N word for them. What that means is, there were unqualified Black people, unqualified Latinos, unqualified women in these jobs. Now we know, because the father of an American Airlines pilot has put his image out. It was a white man who was the pilot. We now have the image of the pilot of the helicopter. He was a white man. The air traffic controller, my understanding, another white person. So he stands out there, again, no evidence, and throws this out there, and people need to understand that all we have seen since last week, since the inauguration, attacks on DEI, and I said, this is a direct assault on Black people and other people of color, and white women had better wake up as well. These people, Project 2025, these hardcore conservatives, Elon Musk, all they are about are advancing the interests of white men, because they think white men are now an aggrieved minority in America.
Well, let me say this, how ironic it is that he had Hegspeth standing there with him, someone who was eminently unqualified to become the head of the Department of Defense, saying that they are going to be establishing new qualifications. How would you know when at the end of the day, you're not qualified to serve in the position that you've been appointed to? So we're dealing with very unconventional means by which these individuals and their movement, the MAGA movement, are going about methodically shaping the debate, shaping the consciousness of Americans by interjecting their philosophy into what was a day of mourning for all Americans, quite frankly, because it is so rare that we have an airline crash in the United States of America that it's startling. But again, this is part and parcel of the determination that these individuals have, starting from day one, as Donald Trump stated, to be a dictatorship, to circumvent the law and the Constitution, to advance their agenda, Project 2025.
I'm looking at responses, and we'll play later. We'll play. A number of people have responded. I saw Senator Chris Murphy. I saw Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, and others. But I'll be honest with you, Congresswoman. It's a whole lot of your white Democrats, your white female Democrats, who have been way too silent when it comes to these attacks. And we know the greatest beneficiary of affirmative action have been white women. What are you saying to your fellow white Democrats about them needing to get their act together and stand up to this racist and this sexist, and to call him out and say something? Because I've been saying this, and I've said it directly to different people. I'm tired of Black people having to carry the water. I'm tired of Black people being the sharecroppers, having to till the soil, to carry the burden, to respond to these attacks. And that's all that I've seen. And frankly, it's way too many white Democrats who have been silent today.
Well, let me say this. First of all, I'm very focused on the Congressional Black Caucus, and I am focused on putting ourselves in formation and moving forward with an agenda for our communities in the face of all of this bigotry, all of this discrimination and hatred. At the end of the day, everyone is going to have to search their own conscience. I can say that we can't generalize. I have been in conversations with a number of my colleagues on the other side of, in the Democratic caucus, who are white individuals who are outraged and who are posting on their various platforms their disdain for what happened today. And so I want to say that, we're building a movement here. This is not a moment. We have got to make sure that in the same way that MAGA maniacs have organized themselves to commandeer the Constitution in the United States of America, we are going to mobilize people across this nation to restore our democracy and move it into the 21st century with diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, we still appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us. Look forward to having you back.
I look forward to being back with you, and thank you for having me, Roland.
All right, thanks a lot. Folks, I'm going to take a break, and then when we come back, I'm going to play for you some of the most egregious, shameful, despicable things that you've heard uttered from an occupant of the Oval Office. This is the leadership of this country making these claims, blaming an aircraft that has killed 70 people on black people, on brown people, on women, on the handicapped. That literally is what is going on here, because they believe that the only people who are qualified for jobs are white, heterosexual men. That's who America voted for in this election. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
Coming soon to the Black Star Network.
For y'all, when you're on that stage, or when you're and you're seeing 2 and 3, 4 generations in the audience, that's got to speak to you about the power of what y'all have become.
Oh, most definitely. I think we were doing our show before our break, and remember, I was watching this kid. I could not take my eyes off him because he was about 9 or so. He was sitting in the front row with his
over on the right-hand side. Yes.
I was amazed that this kid knew everything, and I was like tripping to see how many songs this kid actually knew.
And he knew them all.
And he knew them all. We had to go over there and bring him on stage and take a picture with him, at the end of the show and stuff, because it was just that amazing. It's like, this is crazy.
The music travels everywhere, like what Philip was saying, seeing this young kid, then you hear our songs on commercials, cold commercials. Then you have the younger ones that hear our music in animation.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. There's a lot of talk about the inevitability of another civil war in this country. But on our next show, we'll talk to a noted author and scholar who says we're actually in the middle of one right now. In fact, Steve Phillips says the first one that started back in 1861, well, it never ended.
People carrying the Confederate flag, wearing sweatshirts saying MAGA Civil War, January 6, 2021, stormed the U.S. Capitol, hunted down the country's elected officials, built a gallows for the Vice President of the United States, and to block the peaceful transfer of power within this country.
On the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Next on Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, women of color are starting 90% of the businesses in this country. That's the good news. The bad news, as a rule, we're not making nearly as much as everyone else. But joining us on the next Get Wealthy episode is Betty Hines. She's a business strategist, and she's showing women how to elevate other women.
I don't like to say this openly, but we're getting better at it. Women struggle with collaborating with each other. And for that reason, one of the things that I demonstrate in the sessions that I have is that you can go further together if you collaborate.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Sarah, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be good.
Folks, I told you what was going on here. I told you what was at play, what has been happening in terms of these crazy, deranged white supremacists and what their agenda is and what their focus is. And everything that they have done since January 20th, DEI, 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 DEI. So you got to understand something. First attacks with Black Lives Matter. Then the next attacks, critical race theory. Then it was woke. Now it's DEI. All of that for them means black. Black first and foremost. So understand something. Today, a news conference took place 14 hours after a Black Hawk helicopter, a military helicopter, collided with an American Airlines regional jet not far from the White House at DCA. I don't call it Reagan. I call it by its airport code. At DCA Airport. And this is what Donald Trump, this is what J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, Sean Duffy had to say.
We must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system. I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. You remember that. Only the highest aptitude, they have to be the highest intellect and psychologically superior people were allowed to qualify for air traffic controllers. That was not so prior to getting there when I arrived in 2016. I made that change very early on because I always felt this was a job that, and other jobs too, but this was a job that had to be superior intelligence, and we didn't really have that, and we had it. And then when I left office and Biden took over, he changed them back to lower than ever before. I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. And they put politics at a level that nobody's ever seen, because this was the lowest level. Their policy was horrible, and their politics was even worse. So as you know, last week, long before the crash, I signed an executive order restoring our highest standards for air traffic controllers and other important jobs throughout the country. So it was very interesting. About a week ago, almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful, on restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. They have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. But we'll restore faith in American air travel. I'll have more to say about that. I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them, they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are, I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions, and their lives are actually shortened, very substantially shortened, because of the stress, where you have many, many planes coming into one target, and you need a very special talent and a very special genius to be able to do it. Targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite.
So Donald Trump is saying that if you are disabled, you can't sit at a chair and watch a monitor as planes are landing and taking off. That it requires you to be physically imposing and muscular and strong. That's what he's saying. But that wasn't the only stupidity. Here's the grossly unqualified, the most unqualified vice president we've ever had. Here's J.D. Vance.
Something the president said that I think bears re-emphasizing, which is that when you don't have the best standards in who you're hiring, it means on the one hand, you're not getting the best people in government, but on the other hand, it puts stresses on the people who are already there. And I think that is a core part of what President Trump is going to bring and has already brought to Washington, D.C. is we want to hire the best people because we want the best people at air traffic control, and we want to make sure we have enough people at air traffic control who are actually competent to do the job. If you go back to just some of the headlines over the past 10 years, you have many hundreds of people suing the government because they would like to be air traffic controllers, but they were turned away because of the color of their skin. That policy ends under Donald Trump's leadership because safety is the first priority of our aviation industry.
Y'all didn't catch that. Air traffic controllers, people who want to be an air traffic controller, they've sued. They've sued because of the color of their skin. Y'all need to see, y'all always got to pay attention. He didn't say gender. He didn't say sexuality. It was the color of their skin. Y'all know it ain't that many black and brown air traffic controllers, right? We're not done yet. Here is the former TV host, who's now the Secretary of Defense, Peter Hegseth. Listen to the racism in his statement.
We will have the best and brightest in every position possible. As you said in your inaugural, it is colorblind and merit-based. The best leaders possible, whether it's flying Black Hawks and flying airplanes, leading platoons, or in government. The era of DEI is gone at the Defense Department, and we need the best and brightest, whether it's in our air traffic control, or whether it's in our generals, or whether it's throughout government.
Y'all didn't catch that? Skin color. Black people. Latinos. He's talking about y'all too. Brown people. He's talking about Cambodians. He's talking about Asians. Native Americans. He's talking about everybody who ain't white. But white women, he really talking about y'all too. Here is former reality show member, Sean Duffy, who is now the Secretary of Transportation.
When we deal with safety, we can only accept the best and the brightest in positions of safety that impact the lives of our loved ones, our family members. And I think you make a really important point on that, Mr. President. That is the motto of your presidency, the best and the brightest, the most intelligent coming into these spaces.
They are implying that the pilots of the American Airlines plane, and the pilots of the Black Hawk, and the air traffic controllers, grossly unqualified, awful, shameful, despicable. That's what they're saying. Watch this. He was asked, so a reporter asked him later, again, about DEI. Listen to what the con man says.
On DEI and the claims that you've made, are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else. And there are things where you have to go by brain power. You have to go by psychological quality. And psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had two planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened. And we'll see. We're going to look into that, and we're going to see. But certainly for an air traffic controller, we want the brightest, the smartest, the sharpest. We want somebody that's psychologically superior, and that's what we're going to have. Yeah.
I want y'all to hear that. We're going to look into that. But you're out talking, whack, 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 opining on what happened. Bodies are still in the Potomac, y'all. They have not recovered all. This is a live shot of the recovery effort. The bodies have not been recovered. But it was 7, 8 hours ago that these idiots were saying this. That wasn't the only question. Caitlin Collins of CNN also asked him a question regarding this. And let me play it. Listen to this.
Don't even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people, you mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference?
Does it comfort their families
They
to
are
hear you
a
blaming
group of
DEI
people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question.
But are you
Not a smart question. Are you getting ahead of this? That's always him being bitchy and complaining about the media when these things happen. It goes further. Y'all, he literally, this is like a while ago. He signs an executive order blaming President Biden and DEI for the crash. Did y'all hear what I just said? He signs an executive order. So he's already decided that the crash is completely Joe Biden's fault and all because of DEI. Watch this.
Sir,
thank you.
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA administrator, in this case, acting FAA administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything.
Republican Party.
Now, we literally have incompetent people trying to assess other people's competence. That's literally what we have here. On Maria Bartiramo's Fox News show, Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles, one of the dumbest members of Congress, what did he immediately rush to? That damn DEI.
Is there any reason to believe there was any foul play here?
Well, you know, at this time, you hate to jump to any conclusions. Obviously, we'll look at everything.
Stop. At this time, we hate to jump to conclusions, but what the hell? Let me jump away. Go.
All the boxes. You know, I had just taken off from D.C. Before the crash, and of course it came across my cell phone, and I saw it and was horrified. So prayers go out to all those impacted. But, you know, to your point, I think you have to look at this with eyes wide open, see what happened. You know, human error, was it some sort of equipment failure? Did DEI play a role in this type of thing? So I think you look at it, you go into it with, again, eyes wide open, and make sure that something like this never happens. It's been a number of years since we've had an aircraft collision such as this. And so, again, prayers for all those impacted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, haven't had one since 2009, but oh, it's that damn DEI that just did it, Now, this is how they're operating. Just the other day, Carolyn Levitt, who they're hailing as the youngest White House press secretary ever, who's an idiot, who got them a federal restraining order yesterday when it came to one of their policies because of her dumbass tweets. This was her just a couple days ago from the White House podium talking about wokeness.
So what does this pause mean? It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam that has cost American taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies. No more funding for Green New Deal social engineering policies.
Ooh, all that wokeness. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic Minority Leader in the House, he is actually in California. I was texting him earlier. He was meeting with families in Altadena who have been impacted by the fires there. He dropped this video on social media.
Above DCA Airport. Lives have been lost. Families have been devastated. People are suffering. And the leader of this country decides to go out and peddle lies, conspiracy theories, and attack people of color and women without any basis whatsoever. Have you no decency? Have you no respect for the families whose lives have been turned upside down?
Folks, there were tweets there. Former Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. As a matter of fact, there was a point in the news conference. Y'all let me know when you have it, when Donald Trump literally said, just called it was bullshit, his leadership there. This is what Buttigieg tweeted out today. Go ahead and pull it up. He said, no, I need Buttigieg's tweet, y'all. Come on. Let's go. Pete Buttigieg's tweet. Let's go. All right, here's a tweet. Despicable. As families grieve, Trump should be leading, not lying. We put safety first, drove down close calls, grew air traffic control, and had no commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch. President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe. Time for the president to show actual leadership and explain what he will do to prevent this from happening again. Pollster Cornell Belcher tweeted this out. You can get the Cornell Belcher tweet, and then after him, you're going to get the Ilhan Omar tweet. Belcher, America deserves better than this. To use this tragedy to push a blatant and racial political agenda is absolutely appalling. It's not okay. It's abhorrent. It's unimaginable that a president would stand before us and dishonor the role of the office this way, not us. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar said bodies are still being pulled from the Potomac. Donald Trump and his grossly incompetent administration are blaming this deadly crash on DEI priorities in white women. This is disgusting, racist, and sexist. Their clueless actions have consequences, and they should be held accountable. Here is freshman Congressman Shamari Figures. He posted this tweet as well. Ensuring qualified candidates have a fair chance in employment had nothing to do with last night's tragic plane crash. President Trump's statements are classic race baiting, and that rhetoric is dangerous and unacceptable. And he goes on there as well. Congresswoman Frederica Wilson of Florida. She also posted this tweet talking about what took place. While human bodies are still being pulled from the Potomac, Donald Trump is blaming white women and minorities for the deadly crash under the guise of DEI. Former DNC chair, still current DNC chair, Jamie Harrison put this up. Posted this on social. Words can't express my disgust in a moment in which you should lead the nation in mourning and navigating a tragedy. This heartless imbecile finds ways to divide. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she posted this on social media as well. This is a blatant lie and a disgrace to the memories of the victims while emergency responders are still recovering people's loved ones. In the freezing water, Trump is using these families' pain for politics and blaming their deaths on DEI. That's right. She called it a failure of leadership. She's absolutely right. I'm going to bring in my panel right now. Nola Haynes, Dr. Nola Haynes, Georgetown University School of Foreign Service. Joining us from D.C., Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University from D.C. Reese Colbert, host of the Reese Colbert Show, joining us out of D.C. as well. Reese, I'll start with you. Racist, sexist, it's very simple. This ain't hard to figure out. That's exactly what it is. They stood there having no information on what took place, no idea about mechanical failure, no idea about communications failure, nothing about it. In fact, for the people who are wondering, here are the photos of the pilot. The father of the pilot posted this, talking about his pain of losing his son. So you see right here, you see the pilots, you see the flight attendants as well. One of them is an African-American sister. Do y'all have the image that they posted of the actual, right? This is the photo right here of one of the three personnel in the Black Hawk helicopter. And so we don't know who the FAA flight control person was, but the reality is, oh, it's all DEI white people were the pilots in the planes, but oh, let's blame it on them black people because that sells well to the white people who voted for us and put us here in the first place.
Right. First of all, let me just say my heart goes out to the victims and their families of this very tragic, horrific accident that should not be political fodder right now. But since Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance want to go there, fuck you, Donald Trump, fuck you, Pete Hegseth, and fuck you, J.D. Vance, and fuck everybody down with this bullshit. But my message is really to MAGA. You know, what this whole episode reveals, white MAGA people and MAGA people all together, is how lowly Donald Trump and them really view y'all. They think y'all are so fucking stupid, so underdeveloped in terms of your brain and your capacity to critically analyze a situation that they can throw out buzzwords and dog whistles like DEI when they really want to say the N-word, and you're going to be satisfied. You're going to find comfort in the idea that you are safe in these skies as long as a black person, which is statistically lower, likely to happen, is behind the wheel. As long as it's a white man, you're going to be good. And that's such a fucking cop-out. It's actually really ridiculous that they think, and they might be justified in thinking this. I don't know. Y'all ain't really shown us that you that any smarter than what they give you credit for. But they think that they can get out of this without being held accountable for the fact that Elon Musk beefing with the FAA head is why he resigned, reportedly, on the day of Donald Trump's inauguration. They didn't bother to put somebody in there to be acting FAA chief. Why Donald Trump got rid of the TSA head, why they put an indiscriminate hiring freeze on the entire government, which impacted the ability to staff air traffic controllers and the FAA. They're hoping that your bigotry and your stupidity is going to be enough to get you to not notice that they are ill-equipped to handle the challenges that this country faces. They're not getting up there talking about, do we need better technology on our military aircraft? Do we need better technology on our airplanes? Do we need better technology in terms of how we route this very complex system of flight patterns and DCA? No, they're not talking about none of that shit. They're talking about motherfucking DEI. Are you kidding me right now? So as much as this is an attack on the intellect and the capabilities of black people, black, Latino, Asian, or whoever else situation may be, which, by the way, there were victims of every race and creed and gender and nationality even on these aircrafts, but I guess their lives don't matter. No. While they think that that is going to console you, they're unserious about tackling the challenges, and that is more detrimental to our country and our safety than any stupid ass and racist propaganda that they want to perpetuate.
So I want to remind people, Charlie Kirk, who is a big-time Trump supporter, has his ear. Remember the racist crap that he said before, which Elon Musk also, when he questioned the intellect of HBCU graduates and airline programs at HBCUs? Here is the racism of Trump MAGA supporter Charlie Kirk. This is a year ago. Matter of fact, it's dated January 23rd, 2024.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now thinking about that.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality.
Absolute bullshit. No, that's exactly what he believes, and it's exactly what a lot of other white people believe. Because if they see somebody black, or they see a woman, or see Latino, Asian American, how they think, if I don't see a white man, then we're in trouble. That's what they think about engineering. I have talked to numerous black lawyers how they walk into the room and they assume that they were staff. We know this when it comes to black doctors. This is the master race ideology of Donald Trump, MAGA, and today's Republican Party?
Absolutely. We are 100% talking about eugenics. We are talking about the 1800s with Francis Galton rolling out the idea of eugenics, positive and negative eugenics, in terms of the bad stuff, the negative stuff that happens when you're not white and when you're breeding versus the positive stuff that happens when you're white and when you're breeding. We are literally there. They are saying the thing out loud, and the gaslighting part of it is to basically convince you that actually I'm not being racist. I'm just really concerned. I want everyone to be safe, and I want the best people to have, to have the job. I'm not really being racist. Honestly, I've said this before, I'm going to continue saying it. It really just is plain old racism. And I have somewhat of a prediction. As a political scientist, that's not something that we're supposed to do. But you know what's going to happen eventually? All of these blatant racists, all of them, at some point where this turns around, they are going to look in a camera and try to convince everybody that they did not say what they have said with their entire chest. And sometimes I even wonder if Trump's people really like him, because it's like, do y'all really think this agenda, this anti-DEI, which basically means anti-black, anti-gay, anti-woman, anti-brown, anti all the things but straight white Christian males, how long do y'all think that this country is going to be okay with this? I mean, and that is a very serious question, because at some point, this will turn around. You are going to blame over 60 people losing their lives on DEI before you have the facts. And now it's come out that there was an overworked air traffic controller doing the job of two people at once. And I'm not saying that is the cause. I am saying there's a correlation, not necessarily causation. So you are going out on the presidential podium and you have all of your jackboot thugs around you to support your racism, to support your anti-DEI, your anti-blackness, your anti-wokeness, to support those claims without evidence, without an investigation. And I want to say this. It is disgusting that a president of the United States, that the Secretary of Defense is saying this about not just civilians, but people in the military that lost their lives. I have never in my life seen people so disrespectful of the military, of national security. And I truly hope not only just the flight community, but I also hope the military community stands up. I've seen a few names out there, talking about this administration being a national security risk. I mean, people like me have been saying that over and over and over. But y'all, they don't just hate Black people. They really don't like Americans. They don't like democracy. They don't like rule of law. They don't like any of it.
Well, here's
go ahead, Roland.
But here's the reality. Here's the reality. This is what they want, Greg. And no, I gotta disagree. This is exactly who his supporters want. This is exactly what they want. This is exactly what they voted for. He said the exact same things. I laid it out in White Fear. Title, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. This is exactly it. And what they're doing is they're showing their contempt. They don't care about 2043. They do understand America is changing. They're saying, no. This is white land. This is ours. Everything is ours. The money is ours. The power is ours. The jobs are ours. Everything is ours. Y'all are meant to be subservient. You are meant to be sharecroppers. You are meant to be slaves without shackles. And there are Black people, if skin folk ain't kinfolk. Remember, Charlie Kirk said that, but remember what that hateful ass Candace Owens had to say. The exact same thing. Listen.
Unfortunately, that is the reality of what happens when it comes to DEI. And what he is remarking on is true. I would be terrified if I got onto a plane and I saw a woman flying the plane. And I know that we have the United CEO saying that he just wants to fulfill a quota. He just wants there to be more women and wants there to be more black people. And he's not concerned at first with qualifications. That is something that should alarm all of us, guys.
Now, again, we know, Greg, we all know. I mean, if we sat here and pulled the record of plane crashes in America dating back 30, 40 years, we're going to see nearly all white pilots. If we pull the records of who were the air traffic controllers when those crashes happened, it's a good bet that list is going to be nearly all white. We can go on and on. We can talk about food poisoning. We can talk about, we can go on and on and on in America. It's white folks. If we want to talk about white-collar crimes and Ponzi schemes and bankrupting people, it's going to be mostly a white dude at the helm of it. But for them, oh no, anything that's gone wrong, it's those damn black people. It's those damn women. It's white women, because when they say black, if you're a black woman, you're in the black category. It's those damn Latinos. This is absolutely signaling to their base, it's them. They are grossly unqualified. They are dumb. They are evil. They don't know shit. We can't trust them with anything. So only give them menial jobs, because the only people who can do anything right and just, who is superior, who has the intellect, who has the psychological awareness, the only people who can do those things are our robust, strong, Christian, heterosexual white men.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Square-jawed, right stuff.
Boom.
Right, man.
Boom. Square-jawed, right stuff. That's the movie. That's the astronaut movie.
Yes.
The movie. There you go. And guess what? Black astronauts could not qualify. Go ahead, Greg.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And of course, that's who probably most of the folks watching today. Well, a lot of people probably remember Dick Tracy. If this were a Dick Tracy cartoon, of course, we would refer to Charlie Kirk as Littleface. So anybody listening to Littleface. But yeah.
Well, actually, I disagree. The people who are listening are those white boys in fraternities and on campuses, because those incels and what's trapping them, or that black boy with the shooting in Nashville who listened to them and listened to Candace Owens. Oh yeah, that's who they're talking to.
I definitely would agree with that, and that's who is, as you say, the lie. That is the lie, and that is the hope that they are peddling. Because in the short term, anyway, Donald Trump's protestations just before the election notwithstanding, you do have to vote for elective office. And to get those millions, you have to peddle that hope. You have to peddle that lie that this is a white person's country. And as you say, you can leave those jobs to them. Unfortunately, all four of us have probably experienced this over the last couple of weeks. I certainly experienced it even as late as today when I walked in a store, and a continental African sister who's been working there for a long time with a lot of folk from Spanish-speaking communities said to me when I asked, where is everybody? She said, my coworkers don't want to come to work. They're afraid. And so I talked to Benny Thompson yesterday, who said he had one of his constituents call his office in Mississippi crying for help. Now, this is someone who probably did not vote for him, didn't vote for Kamala Harris, but someone who woke up last week to find that his crop is not now being tended. Why? Because everybody's gone. So, the work that they will do, you at the hillbilly horde, you're not getting a chance. Get the calluses up on your hands, because you have to go pick some fruit, my friend. But, as we heard that racist talk, and then Littleface and others talking, it made me think about the fact, I remember a couple of summers ago, every August we go to Egypt. We take folks to Egypt on tour. And we took a charter. We chartered a plane to go from Aswan to Abu Simbel, just above the border with the Sudan, to go see the Temple of Abu Simbel, Ramses II, and Nefertari. And as we were getting off the plane, I heard the folk in front of me cheering. Now, these are Africans from the United States. We go to Egypt a lot, but they were cheering because they had seen something that we haven't seen in all the years. I've been going to Egypt since, 2007, and taking students, and then now lots of other people since then. For the first time, we saw something that we hadn't seen, certainly hadn't seen in the United States. It was a woman pilot. And it was like, wow. So everybody, one by one, we almost got delayed heading to the temple because everybody wanted to take a picture with this sister. Now let's go back to Littleface and Donald Trump and Elon Musk and all their friends. Whatever happens to you really is of no concern to me. The only concern I have is as it impacts me and my people and human beings. You are beyond contempt. You're beneath contempt. As Reese said, you hustled the FAA head out, talking crazy about him because it was messing with your business and your mind. And Dr. Haynes, as Nola said, you've got overworked people in the tower. The FAA released a report just before you went on air, Roland, saying exactly right, that you had someone who was working in really two jobs, one dealing with helicopters, the other one dealing with training flights and things like that. And then, I was reading something by David Susi, who is a retired FAA investigator. And he was saying today that DCA, and you're absolutely right, Roland, nobody black calls it by the R word, that curse word. Nobody calls it that. Certainly, I learned that when I moved to DC, and they're like, we don't call it. I was, oh, God, hey, no problem. You ain't got to tell me but once. But he was saying that not only is DCA one of the busiest airports in the world, it is absolutely the most complicated because they add those airspaces are shared with military aircraft, VIP flights, White House transportation, drones flying clandestine operations. If you fly to DCA at a certain time, like tomorrow, Friday, you get there in the afternoon, you're going to see half of Congress. That's when they going home. And so when you think about that, and you think about the fact after the Federal Aviation Administration Reauthorization Act of 2024 added 10 additional daily flights to the schedule, and all 4 senators from Virginia and from Maryland protested because they said, you don't understand, you have a perfect storm for accidents. And that man stood up today, finally, and did what we all know he does. He moved in the direction of white nationalism for political gain. His base is going to be his base.
Yep.
And since it's going to be its base, the rest of us have to decide what we will do to stop him. Because guess what? The world isn't waiting on us to stop him. All the leaders of the Caribbean and Latin American countries were supposed to meet today, but they canceled the meeting, and the headlines in the United States were that they bucked to Trump. No, they didn't buck to Trump, fool. They have phones. The world is organizing. The only question we got to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do? Because they're getting ready to leave us in the dirt.
See, I need everybody to understand. I'm telling you. I mean, all y'all folks who are listening, and I see it's about this 10,000, the most we've had on our YouTube channel live at one time in a number of months. This thesis, white fear, I have been speaking on this nationally in speeches, on television and radio since 2009. I literally said to John Avalon at CNN, who's now a member of Congress, John, this is in 2009. I said, we're in the beginning stages of white minority resistance. Y'all need to understand what's at play. What you heard today, what you've seen with all these executive orders and policies, it is white minority resistance. They are scared to death of the nation becoming majority white. But they don't have to worry about that because you got a lot of Latinos who are calling themselves white Hispanics. See, we got to understand what's at play. And everybody who's watching, I had somebody say today, somebody said that they had 2 Black History Month speeches that were canceled. They said, keep the money, just don't show up. Somebody else said that several speakers bureaus have said that Black History Month bookings are down up to 70%. Same is going to take place next month, Women's History Month. What you have going on is you now have corporations, they're attacking the affinity groups. So the groups in companies and the federal government of Black employees and Latino employees and gay employees and women employees, I laid out last week that they are attacking the civil rights infrastructure because what they're angry about are the gains since white people in this country, namely white men, are pissed off right now because they have to compete. They're angry. See, everybody who's watching, y'all got to understand Let me walk y'all through, because I don't think a lot of people understand what I'm talking about here. If we talk about Title IX, which was passed in 72, that is a provision of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. That law is built around the 64 Civil Rights Act. The law targeted colleges that receive federal funding, research, and they said, y'all can't be discriminating against women. You get federal dollars. Senator Ted Kennedy led that law. That law is the reason you have seen female doctors, female engineers, female lawyers. It opened the professional schools up. The 1996 American with Disabilities Act, that law was passed. That law, which called for accessibility and ramps and all sorts of things to aid the disabled. Do y'all know what the underpinning of the 1996 Civil Rights Act is? The 1996 American with Disabilities Act, the underpinning of that is the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Why do they hate the 1965 Voting Rights Act? Because that today is how Latinos and Koreans and Chinese and Cambodians and Taiwanese can vote in their native language because of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Why do they hate the Fair Housing Act? Because you couldn't have covenants. You couldn't have your racially restrictive neighborhoods, redlining, all those things. Who supported a law in California that said we don't have to sell our homes to black people? Ronald Reagan, who was elected governor of California, who was elected president, who before Trump was the biggest Republican hero in history, even before Abe Lincoln. I need all y'all watching to understand what's going on. The right in this country, the white right in this country, have been pissed off because this nation was forced to live up to its creed. All men and women are created equal. They hated that. What did Dr. King say? Be true to what you put on paper. And the civil rights infrastructure has been forcing America to be true to what you put on paper. And they are pissed. And they are angry. And they are upset. And I need y'all, during the news conference, I know some of y'all are saying, Roland, I don't understand. Why did he attack Pete Buttigieg so viciously? Pete Buttigieg is a white man, but he gay. They like, nah, we ain't down with gay white men. Listen to this.
A website shows that the agency's guidance on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd of 22. They wanted to make it even more so. And then I came in, and I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit. The Department of Transportation, his government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it, 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity. So
now, yeah, that's what that was. So that was, I'm gonna attack him because he's gay. I'm gonna attack him because he worked for Democrats. And so that's what all this was about. But while this is happening, Trump and his minions, 'cause this is all tied together, a couple days ago, in their attack on migrants, they've been touting the 14th Amendment. And Trump goes out and he says that,
that 14th Amendment, that was meant. That was meant only for formerly enslaved people of African descent. And that was music to the ears of the foundational black Americans, the FBA, the freedmen, ADOS. Oh, they all on social media. See? It was only for us. That law was only for us. No law is only for one group of people. So he's using, see, some of y'all need to understand. Y'all got to recognize what Bill Duke said in that movie, High Flying Bird. They invented a game on top of the game. Trump is deliberately trying to play the wedge game because he knows there's a group of black people who are so anti-immigrant and who think that they are so conscious that they are driving this messaging on social as only for us. We only want to see laws for us. We only want to see bills for us. And that is at the roots of what's going on with this discussion about the 14th Amendment. Joining us right now, my guest is Carla McAnders, Director of the Legal Defense Fund's Thurgood Marshall Institute. Carla, I'm adding you to this because all of this ties together, Carla. It is meant to drive wedges between Black, Latino, Asian, Native American. The rights lawsuits, Harvard and affirmative action programs, meant to drive the wedge. And there are black people who are falling for the okie doke, who are playing right into it, who think that, oh no, these are things that are just for us, when it's been established by the Supreme Court that the 14th Amendment does not only apply to the descendants of formerly enslaved people of African descent. Folk need to realize the game that is being played. This is a master race strategy that is being employed as we speak and is unfolding every single day.
Definitely. Thank you for having me today. I think you're hitting on the core issue here, is that citizenship has always been narrowly construed to only include a certain group, and it's been very exclusionary. So if you go back to 1790 with the Naturalization Act, it was limited to free white males. Then you had, Dred Scott arguing that, a formerly enslaved person who's in the North, that he should be given citizenship rights. You had the Supreme Court responding in Dred Scott saying that, just as Taney said, that the black man has no rights to which the white man is bound to respect. And so the 14th Amendment came along and it provided citizenship, membership, and belonging to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, are citizens of the United States. And so what the Legal Defense Fund has done is we've joined together with the ACLU Immigrants' Rights Project, the ACLU of New Hampshire, Massachusetts, the State Democracy Defenders Fund, and the Asian Law Caucus to challenge this executive order that tries to unilaterally rewrite the Constitution. And in the executive order protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship, Trump is saying that those who are born in the United States, if you're undocumented, if you have a student visa, if you're an asylum seeker, that you are not entitled to U.S. citizenship.
And again, I'm trying to keep people to understand, keep them centered on what's going on here. This is master race language. When they are attacking illegal immigration, attacking migrants, what they're saying is, we need all of these dark people out. When he calls African nations shithole countries, when he lies about Haitian immigrants are eating dogs and cats in Springfield, Ohio, he has no problem with white immigrants. He has no problem with that. In fact, they would prefer in Ohio and in Minnesota and in Wisconsin, if these were white immigrants, they're like, man, we good. And I need everybody to understand that this is what's also playing out in Germany right now. It's been playing out in Europe for the past decade. They have hated African immigrants because they stopped having babies in those countries. And they're like, yo, the master race, we losing. Elon Musk is fixated on birth rates of white people. This is all about master race.
This is why it's important for us to know the history of the 14th Amendment, that the 14th Amendment cannot be taken out of the context in which it was ratified. It was ratified during Reconstruction, and it was ratified to ensure that all people that are born in the United States have access to the rights to which citizenship gives them. So the right to equal protection. And what this law does is like you indicated, it drives a wedge, and the people that are harmed are the children that will be born stateless in the United States. They won't be entitled to a passport, which means that they won't be able to travel. They won't be able to, if you're a child born in the United States, you're entitled to certain medical care. And this is a tactic that has been used before. And that's why it's important for us to go back and look at the language of Dred Scott. It's important for us to look at the context in which the 14th Amendment was passed and look at the naturalization laws and how first, there was the exclusion of formerly enslaved people. Then it went to the Chinese Exclusion Act, where we were saying that Chinese nationals could not be citizens. And then one thing that we should pay attention to there are a whole line of cases called the prerequisite naturalization cases that came after the Chinese Exclusion Act, where individuals from different countries were arguing not that they should be Black, but that they should be white, because they knew that whiteness carried all of the rights of citizenship. And so this is a well-worn playbook. We've been having the same arguments about membership and belonging since 1790, and with the ratification of the 14th Amendment. And this is what LDF is built for. We are built for fighting for a multiracial democracy. And this lawsuit is the first of many that the Legal Defense Fund will file that demonstrates our readiness to fight for anti-democratic, anti-immigrant, and anti-Black agendas.
The thing here, Reese, and I know there's somebody who's saying that, oh my goodness, you're just spending so much time on this. But here's the other strategy that was here. Why did they have this news conference at 11 a.m., Reese? Because they didn't want the national network showing the confirmation hearings of that QAnon conspiracy-loving Kash Patel to be the FBI director, or that Russia-loving Tulsi Gabbard to be the head of Director of National Intelligence, or that nutcase Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be the head of HHS. So it was also, let me do this to distract from that. That ain't gonna work with us because we're gonna show that nonsense as well. But I really do need Black people to understand what's going on here. Project 2025, we kept detailing it. That agenda is stop everything that has led to Black advancement. Mm-hmm. And as a part of that, Latino advancement, all of that. I was reading a story in the Wall Street Journal where India actually sends more migrants to America than anywhere else. They ain't talking about them. They ain't trying to see, because you won't hear J.D. Vance's wife saying nothing. You don't hear Vivek Ramaswamy saying anything about that. You don't hear Bobby Jindal saying anything about that, the former governor of Louisiana. You don't hear Nimrata Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina, saying anything about that. No. What they saying is, I'm going to need you Mexicans, Colombians, Venezuelans, Brazilians. I'm going to need all y'all to get the hell out, and all y'all from Bermuda, from Haiti, from Jamaica, from African nations. I need all y'all gone. These people, if they could import 1 million or 2 million Swedish or folk from Swedes or folk from Denmark, oh, they would do it in a heartbeat. That's what they want.
Yeah, They want to strip our citizenship. I don't even know why anybody would take comfort in the whole notion of lineage being something that guarantees your citizenship when half of us can barely trace several generations back. We've covered before on this show, Roland, and it's been reported in ProPublica about how farm workers and how Black people have lost their property because of heirs properties and the lack of documentation where property is passed down from generation to generation. So I don't think we want to get into really rigid technicalities around citizenship when it comes to Black people, because we've been stripped of our lineage, even within this own country, being the descendants of slaves or enslaved people. And not all of us are descendants of enslaved people per se, because there are some people that weren't enslaved. So the reality is that this is just a way to kind of give the chaos agents, let me put it that way, something to chew on and to distract from, because those people have been very quiet about, look at what the Asians got. Look at why can't we get anything for Black people specifically, when Donald Trump and his administration has been laser-like targeting everything to undo for Black people. They've been quiet. They've been mute. So now this gives them something to talk about and kick up dirt about. But there's nothing to celebrate in that admission, which is, yes, part of what birthright citizenship is about, when he's doing everything to strip us of our citizenship today.
I got a kick. I'm going to see if I can increase this story. The folks at Midas Touch had put this story out. Trump's new transportation secretary voted against FAA funding in 2019, NOLA, when he was in Congress. Ain't that special? The person complaining about FAA cuts voted against FAA funding. They will all get exposed by this, but the reality is you have these MAGA people. This is what they wanted. What happened today, this is what they desire.
Absolutely. And I kind of want to go back to 2016, 2017 to the travel bans. Definitely I spent a great deal of time with the travel bans, especially a part of the civil rights package that's talked about a little less, which is the expansion of the Immigration Nationality Act of 64 and 65. And I'm happy to see that the sister is still here with us, because I definitely, I have been thinking about this quite a lot in terms of, I see this as an extension of the 2017 and 2020 travel bans, especially when the Supreme Court upheld the 2017 travel ban, upheld it on presidential powers, right? So my worry is always, because the Supreme Court is so Trump friendly, will some of these executive orders be upheld once it reaches to that level? And it seems like when it comes to immigration, that the Supreme Court seems to be very Trump positive, with their decision making. And so I am very curious about the Immigration Nationality Act, especially the last part of it that allowed for the Black and brown folks to come here. Now, there was an earlier version of the INA where it was mostly white, from white European countries, a few Asian countries, but not the brown or Asian countries. And then part of the civil rights package really exploded that, right? And then it offered a way for people from African countries, Central America, all around the world to come to the United States. And so because this is a very pro-loophole administration, Admin 1 and Admin 2, I'm very curious if that's a workaround to kind of close that loophole of the Immigration Nationality Act, especially that last expansion, as this really is a reversal of all of the civil rights package. It seems that Trump is trying to eviscerate it with the stroke of a pen. And my concern is always, where is the Supreme Court going to show up? As we move through the system.
I want her to answer your question. Go ahead.
Okay. Definitely. I think what you're pointing out is extremely important, that as a part of the Civil Rights Act, that we had the elimination of the quota system. And that quota system opened the door for many people from different nationalities to immigrate to the United States. Now, the thing that we need to distinguish in the Immigration and Nationality Act is passed by Congress. And it does give the executive branch wide authority or discretion. So with the travel ban, you saw the Trump administration invoking its national security powers. And once national security is invoked, that means that the Supreme Court is very deferential to the executive branch. Right. Contrast that to the 14th Amendment is different from the Immigration and Nationality Act. The 14th Amendment cannot be unilaterally changed by a president. What you see the administration doing through executive orders is legislating from the executive branch. We know that it takes a vote of Congress to amend the Constitution, and it also takes states to vote to amend the Constitution. So the executive order is interpreting the phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof" as meaning that does not include undocumented immigrants, and that's very untrue. There are only a limited amount of exceptions where that applies. Thank you for that discussion.
Greg, we spend lots of time really unpacking these things, and let me be real clear. This conversation here will not, absolutely, positively, ain't gonna happen on mainstream media because they are a part of this problem as well. I wrote about it in the book. I literally had the host of a network show say, "Man, I would love to have you on my show, Roland, to talk about your book, White Fear, but my white producers don't like your book title." And I said to this person, I write about them in the book. And the response was, "No, you preach it to the choir." I said, "No, I need you to be the pastor." And what we're dealing with is so even when we see black people who are hosting shows in mainstream media, they are not controlling those shows, so they can't have the conversation that we are having here right now. But people need to understand, why is there such a focus on, why are they so hell-bent on DEI? What's going on here? It's because they are talking to their white base. They are talking to them and they are saying, "See, we are doing exactly what we told y'all we were gonna do. We are out here shutting all this down." And what they're gonna do, Greg, they're gonna blame everything on migrants. They're gonna blame everything on DEI. They're gonna so anything that happens is gonna be Biden's fault, the Democrats' fault, it's DEI. They're gonna assign that to everything that goes wrong. They're not going to assume they won't assume any responsibility about anything. And while people are while sitting here going, "I can't believe these things happen. I just can't believe they're doing what they're doing," and we just keep saying, "We told y'all they were going to do this. We told y'all what was going to happen." In fact, this has been going around here. Let me show this here before you comment. They sent this memo around. This is from the Defense Intelligence Agencies to the DIA workforce. It says that the DIA will pause all activities and events related to agency special emphasis programs effective immediately and until further notice. Additionally, special observances hosted throughout the year by the command element, directorates, and special offices are also paused. Look at right here. There will be no Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebrations, even though that's federal law. Nothing for Black History Month. Nothing for Women's History Month. Holocaust Day, Days of Remembrance, y'all out. Asian American Pacific Islanders Heritage Month, forget about it. Pride Month, sorry gay folks, you're gone. Juneteenth, ain't gonna happen. Women's Equality Day, forget about it. National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, hell no. National American Indian Heritage Month, nope. Now you see it says the pause will not affect the federal holidays. Oh, but you notice you don't see Columbus Day on here, Greg.
Well, I mean, and the irony is Columbus wasn't white. I mean, you got Cristoforo Colombo, an Italian, being financed by Ferdinand and Isabella to go do an adventure. But we won't even get into that.
Yeah, but remember, when the Italians came here, they treated them badly until they assimilated to the point where they considered them to be white.
Exactly, and we can't. You see, we should have been killed. We couldn't be killed, so they had to. I mean, we go back again. And I'm glad that Sister McAndrews is here because she knows this stuff as well as better as anybody. It's Federalist 54 and 55. This is Alexander Hamilton arguing: are they people? Or are they property? As Future would say, they are both at the same damn time. So they've always had a problem with us. They couldn't kill us, but they absolutely have to cling to this, as Gerald Horne says. Whiteness is the battle pay that poor whites got in order to provide a buffer between the people who are really scamming everybody and the rest of us. And so they absolutely have to believe it. This morning, writing in the New York Times, Emma Bobola made a point that this is about a couple of things. One, you're testing the boundaries to see how much you can get away with, this expansive view of the executive branch. And more importantly, when it comes to this birthright citizenship, which is only about 20% of the countries in the world still use birthright citizenship. Italy is not one of them. They're saying that Prime Minister Meloni has Trump's ear. There they got bloodline citizenship. The children of immigrants aren't given automatic citizenship. You have to, at 18, they can apply and show that they've been living in Italy. So, I mean, there's that. But ultimately, what she wrote this morning, Bobola, was that what they are trying to do is redefine the nation. So the idea of whiteness is very central to this. Catherine Franke, my class over at Howard Law School on Wednesday nights, we're reading Catherine Franke's book, Repair, on reparations. And of course, Professor Franklin lost her job, was forced to walk the plank at Columbia Law School because she was defending people who were protesting the slaughter of the Palestinians by the Israelis. But Catherine Franke talks about grappling with this question of citizenship. Let's be clear. There's no constitutional definition that extends to everybody until Reconstruction. What Professor Kermit Roosevelt, and we interviewed him on the Black Table. We have a session of that at the Black Table. Kermit Roosevelt wrote a book called The Nation That Never Was. He says, from all intents and purposes, the United States that we talk about began in Reconstruction. As you have said many times, it is, George Washington, James Madison, you're not my dad. I don't give a damn about them founding fathers. So what it comes down to is this. The fight over citizenship is the fight over defining what it means to be a member of the community called United States of America. And the federalism that is triggered by having a 14th Amendment, meaning the 5th Amendment now applies to the states, as we heard Sister McAndrews say, trying to address with Dred Scott, opens up another can of worms that trails back to that 14th Amendment. And this is where I'll end with this question, Ms. McAndrews. I know this is something that y'all talk about a lot, legal scholars, lawyers, constitutional lawyers in particular. When we see, for example, I think it was 1898 or 1899, there was a case that was interpreting the second part of that line in the 14th Amendment. People born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. They're saying that these children of Asian immigrants are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States because their parents came from somewhere else, but they were born here. Do you think, Sister McAndrews, that testing the legal boundaries of the 14th Amendment is as simple as reaffirming what the amendment, the plain language of the amendment says in the legislative history and the plain meaning? Or are these white nationalists, are they in a better position now, given how they've stacked the federal judiciary, particularly the Supreme Court, but also that funky Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals? They probably filed this case in Texas, try to push it to the Supreme Court, to try to really get a bench that might interpret that subject to the jurisdiction thereof in a way that could shrink the meaning of birthright citizenship. How are y'all grappling with that at this stage? And should we really be paying close attention to that?
Well, I think definitely we should pay close attention to it. In the case in which the Legal Defense Fund is a party in New Hampshire, we're going to have a preliminary injunction hearing where the judge will make a preliminary ruling on that interpretation of the 14th Amendment. We also see there are other lawsuits across the country that challenge the same executive order. And in Washington, in January 23rd, there's an opinion that I recommend that you read by the judge issuing a temporary restraining order against this executive order that is at odds with the administration's interpretation of the 14th Amendment. And I recommend that we watch over the next 2 weeks there will be a lot more preliminary injunction hearings where we'll see in different jurisdictions how the district courts interpret this provision. And we do need to pay attention to, when this case goes up, how the Supreme Court will interpret that clause subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Well, listen, I keep telling folk that this thing is real. We warned people what was going on. We've been laying out to them quite some time. And as you said, Carla, we got to be paying attention to all of it because everything is at play. Everything is on the table. And I fundamentally believe what Donald Trump, MAGA, and these Republicans want to do is they want, and these billionaires who are backing them, they have been pissed off. They are pissed off that black women are going to college more than anybody else. They are pissed off that they have to compete in the workplace. They are pissed off that there are actually civil rights laws that have been backed up by Supreme Court precedent and federal judges. They are angry about that. They can't stand what the Fifth Circuit did during the civil rights movement under those federal judges. They can't stand any of that, and they want to completely. Look, they already said, let's try to destroy as much as we can the Voting Rights Act. We know Clarence Thomas and John Roberts would love to totally get rid of the Voting Rights Act, but they also, you see the right target in the Civil Rights Act of '64, they want all of that to be erased, and they're angry that has led to where we are today. So we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks, we are still waiting for more information regarding this crash. The FAA has dropped some information. We've seen the photos of the pilot, the folks of both planes as well. And see, while all of that was going on, then we had all this mayhem that was going on Capitol Hill, U.S. Senate hearings. And I'm telling you, all these things are together. Donald Trump does not want the public to hear the crazy, outlandish conspiracy theories, lies being told by the people who he wants to put in power to run the FBI. Kash Patel is a grossly unqualified nutcase. And for Trump, that's perfect. He's a perfect person to lead the FBI. Oh, Tulsi Gabbard, she made excuses for Russia and Assad. That's all she's done. Her hearings were taking place today as well. Then, of course, you had Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who believes in this theory that black people, we're just superhuman beings. Listen to this exchange between him and Maryland Senator Angela Alsop-Brooks. Incredible.
You said the following, and I quote, "We should not be giving black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites because their immune system is better than ours." Can you please explain what you meant?
There's a series of studies, I think most of them by Poland, that show that to particular antigens that blacks have a much stronger reaction. There's differences in reaction to different products by different races.
So I have 17 seconds left. Let me just ask you then. So what different vaccine schedule would you say I should have received? What different vaccine schedule should I have received?
I mean, the Poland article suggests that blacks need fewer antigens than.
This is so dangerous.
So you get the same measles vaccine.
Mr. Kennedy, with all due respect, that is so dangerous. Your voice would be a voice that parents would listen to. That is so dangerous. I will be voting against your nomination because your views are dangerous to our state and to our country.
Y'all know what's a trip? How many black people in Poland? Second of all, here's what's really crazy about what the hell he was talking about. If he believes that black people respond differently to drugs, shouldn't you have federal studies that focus on black people to see if they're different than white people and others? Oh, I'm sorry. They got rid of all of those things because that's DEI. Okay, that was hilarious. Yeah, that was hilarious. Roll the other sound bite from the Kash Patel hearing. That was insane. Just roll it.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them you're proud of what you did, Mr. Patel. They're right there. They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it. I've never, ever accepted violence against law enforcement. I've worked with these men and women, as you know,
you
my entire
glorified
life,
it in song,
and I did not make a single dime out of it.
In song. Well, let me.
How about you ask them if I have their backs, and let's see about that answer.
Let me ask you this.
Did you say that the FBI headquarters should be shut down and reopened as a museum of the deep state?
Mr. Chairman, are we allowed to go an extra time?
Let's see. You get a second round. Before I call on Senator Lee.
Could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters, where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism, should be shut down and opened as a deep state?
Hey, Mr. Chair.
As a museum. Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down?
Mr. Chair.
I deserve an answer to that question. He is asking to be head of the FBI, and he said that their headquarters should be shut down.
Mr. Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
Senator Dick Durbin asked him about appearing on a podcast with a guy who loves neo-Nazis. Patel's like, I don't know who he is. Go. Play it. All right, I'll play it myself. I got it. Take my iPad.
Stu Peters, does that name ring a bell?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you familiar with Mr. Stu Peters?
Not off the top of my head.
He made 8 separate appearances on his podcast. He promoted outrageous conspiracy theories and worked with a prominent neo-Nazi. There are more. Ted Nugent, it goes on, list goes on. I'm just asking, when it comes to your association with individuals, why are so many of them in this category?
My association, as you loosely define it, is by appearing in media over 1,000 times to take on people who are putting on conspiratorial theories and to devour them of their false impressions and to talk.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Which is it? Do you know Stu Peters or not, Kash? I mean, I'm just confused. Maybe you forgot this.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stu. Always love coming on your show.
Kash Patel, thank you so much for making the time to be here with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stu. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stu. Appreciate it. See you soon.
I got to go, Kash. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
up against a hard break here. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Stu.
Kash Patel, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Stu. Appreciate it. You've got a great show.
Thank you.
These people are liars, Nola, and Trump wanted to distract the country from these 3 dangerous nominees, and that's what we have here. These people should not be confirmed, and I don't know if you actually have 4 Republicans with guts to vote no.
You know, I want to start off by being just blatantly honest, Roland. You know, tonight, it took a lot for me to come here tonight. I'm not feeling well. I'm tired. Everyone has had an exhaustive week, but especially for the national security and foreign policy community, this has been heartbreaking and devastating because we take our work very seriously. The standard of person to hold these roles. I know on the Democrat side, you basically have to be a near perfect superhuman being to occupy these roles. And then when you hear the excuse of DEI, and you're sitting there reading these folks' resumes, I have receipts. I have some skin in the game, and I am nowhere near qualified to be Secretary of Defense or DNI. But it doesn't seem to matter. Their resumes, their lukewarm resumes do not seem to matter because it's not about experience. It's not about leadership. It is about loyalty, and it is about making sure that the President of the United States, whatever his whims, flights, and fancies are, that they are carried out. And that's the danger. That's the threat. It is not about the oath to this country. And I need people to understand, those of us who have taken that oath, who takes that oath very seriously, it is to the country, it is to the Constitution, not to one person, not to one man. And one thing that these circus clown, I just want to say this last point, one thing that these circus clown hearings have shown, that it's not about the country. It is about loyalty to the President of the United States, and that is dangerous.
Greg?
I agree. Lola has laid it out. I mean, and that's her bailiwick. That's her areas. National security. Tulsi Gabbard should frighten anybody who thinks that they are in support of the United States of America, its foreign policy. I'm not one of those people, but I do understand that there are some basic things that keep everybody safe, and that doesn't include the United States. It includes everyone around the world. And I'm not talking about much of a U.S. foreign policy, but I am talking about some critical elements that Tulsi Gabbard doesn't know about, couldn't command a knowledge of in a short order of time, and it really doesn't matter. It's been said many times over the last several weeks that Donald Trump is not nominating folks for his administration. He's casting them. Square jaw, Mr. Fool, Pete Heston. The FBI nominee, Patel's main, in fact, only qualification is ass-kissing loyalty. Yep. And so it doesn't matter what is said, as you said. And when we look at Bobby Kennedy today, talking about Medicare and Medicaid, not knowing the basics, Maggie Hassan, Senator Hassan out of New Hampshire, having to walk him through Medicare Part A, B, C, D, and he doesn't know, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because he's been cast in that role. Now, and I'll end with this. These things, as onerous as they are, 53-seat majority for the Republicans. I talked with a sister today, a great-grandmother who has a great-grandson who would suffer if they cut these things, Medicare and Medicaid, who was saying, I'm in Ohio, and they elected 2 circus clowns, including the guy that put Sherrod Brown out of office. So they're going to be appointed. They're going to vote for them, and nobody's going to say no. And the only question then is, what do we do in the wake of that? And that really is anybody's guess at this point if we don't get very busy and very organized very quick.
Reese?
Yeah, the reality is that the ineptness and unfitness is really the feature, not the bug, of these nominees. Donald Trump wants people who, to both Dr. Carr and Dr. Nola's points, are fiercely loyal, but more importantly, people that have no integrity, no conviction, no core that grounds them, no integrity, a willingness to lie in the face of their own quotes of words that have been documented on video, on paper, and say, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. The ability to lie through their teeth and really not give a fuck in front of the whole country and gaslight is exactly why these people are here. He couldn't put qualified patriots, if we want to go there. He couldn't put qualified people that, even though I don't have an ounce of agreement ideologically with Republicans, he couldn't put a Mark Milley or others in there that are going to serve the country. Right. These people are there to serve him and him alone. And unfortunately, that's absolutely gonna fuck us all, including MAGA voters.
And for the people who go, oh my God, we didn't know. You had 4 years of this before and you still accepted it. Folks, we talked about at the top of the show, again, how they're so focused on DEI, and you have corporations who are following right behind, getting rid of their programs. You're not gonna see next month Black History Month ads. You're gonna see all these companies they're running. They're literally canceling speeches of people as we speak. They're not even holding their programs because they don't want to run afoul of Robbie Starbuck and Donald Trump. Well, you've had a lot of folk talk on social media about the need to boycott, specifically Target. When Walmart made their decision more than a month ago, people were saying, you know what, Walmart should be boycotted as well. Well, organization called, they go by Strike for All on Twitter, they announced this beginning February 1st, a boycott of Target. It says boycott Target, only buy minority owned. We Are Somebody is a coalition building organization for the working class. They are wearesomebody.org. We're using the hashtag boycott Target, the organizer of the group. Nina Turner, who joins us right now. Nina, so let's talk about this here. The basis of the boycott obviously is targeting, no pun intended, Target, for pulling back on DEI. But what's the goal? What's the outcome? What do you want to achieve with this boycott?
Really to awaken the sleeping giants, to let corporations such as Target understand that they cannot just play in our faces. Certainly Target has enjoyed the bounty of pretending like they cared about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as soon as the Trump administration comes in, they abandon the whole thing. I mean, this is really corporations bowing to bigotry. And as you named Walmart, we got McDonald's, we got a whole host of them. So folks, that if they want to boycott all of them, let's have at it. But we must have a target here, and that pun is intended to make sure that we shore up as we continue to boycott across the board these companies that don't show respect. And this is bigger, Roland, than just DEI. As you were talking about in the last segment, we have a president that instead of apologizing and taking in the sensitivities of the families and friends and co-workers who lost folks in that crash, he wants to blame it on DEI. Not acting as if he has any common sense whatsoever. That was very unpresidential and very heartless. And the notion that somehow DEI is responsible for what happened during that crash is outrageous. It is code for being anti-Black, for being a bigot. And once you are anti-Black, you really don't care about any other marginalized group. So we have got to push not just against Target, but other corporations that have, again, reaped the bounty of pretending like they care about DEI, but they really do not.
When I asked in terms of what is the goal of it, I thought about, let me set it up. When I study Operation Breadbasket, which came from Reverend Leon Sullivan, and then Dr. King and SCLC adopted it, they had a 6-point strategy in terms of how they approached these things.
I'm familiar.
And so these are the 6 points. And so they talked about information gathering, committee evaluation, negotiation, education, economic withdrawal, agreement, covenant, and monitoring. So there's always an end result. So you launch a boycott, like what do we want to happen for it to end or to achieve? So what do you want Target to do? So if Target says, hey Nina, I will meet with your organization and y'all say do this, and we won't do the boycott, or you need to do this, and we're not going to end the boycott till these things happen. What is that?
Target needs to restore the program that they started or something very similar to that program to show that they are not going to bow to bigotry. Target is just one example. We Are Somebody, the organization that I am the founder and president of, have been talking about planning for boycotts across the board. This particular one that is laser focused on Target. As we know, organizations that are headquartered, activists that are headquartered in the same state where Target is, they launched, they went in front of the Target headquarters today and made sure that they understood that a boycott must happen. Our purchase power, we have power in our purchase. Right. And we have got to let these corporations know that we are not going to tolerate them bowing down to bigotry. So Target in particular, they must restore the program that they found to be coveted and or something very similar to that program.
Which program?
The program of having Black-owned and minority-owned companies prominent in their stores. They celebrated that, Roland, as you know, and a lot of these companies started a focus on DEI shortly after the murder of George Floyd. And now you have a president that is threatening, just even on the federal level, threatening Costco as a private corporation to sue them because they're keeping their DEI program intact. We just can't stand for it. And this won't be the first boycott. This is the start.
So that part there in terms of the program to bring in more black-owned products, that's that. What else? Because Target also made some other announcements as well. So are you also being specific regarding those? So for instance, when they said how much they wanted to spend with black-owned businesses every year.
Now, Target is that shelf space is going to be lost unless we force them not to bow down to the Trump administration.
Right. No. I got the shelf space. But what I'm saying is Target also announced, when I know for a fact when we were going after them when it came to black-owned media, Target also announced when it came, not only with the shelf space, that they were going to be spending $2 billion annually with black-owned businesses. That expenditure is not just shelf space. That expenditure is also supply diversity program, advertising with black-owned media, and other things as well. And so in addition, so the shelf space, that's one thing, that program. What I'm saying is, what are the other components, what are the other asks that you're making? Because again, when I talk about Operation Breadbasket, when they made it, they also made demands when they did that for companies to also invest money in black banks. Is that one of your asks as well? So so what are your, are there 3, are there 4, are there 5, and what are those asks so the public who you're asking to boycott knows what the ask is and what the demands are?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it, but to be very much committed and not pushed off the square every time an administration changes. I mean, that is very important. So Target's word is not bond in this case at all. And so those people who believe in a conscious-minded type of justice have got to know that we are going to continue to push against them every step of the way.
Right.
I don't trust. I do not trust, because they so easily eased out of this. Roland, we can't trust that they're going to do any of these things. And obviously, I want to give an example. There are several black-owned companies that have been out there. Author Frederick Joseph is one of them. Oh Happy Danny. These are black companies that are in Target right now who have said, take us, we want no part of Target. The other thing that We Are Somebody has done is we created a list of those businesses that are in Target right now with their website, because as you know, a lot of people are saying those companies would be hurt by that. When we can cut out the middleman and go directly to the websites of those companies to support those black-owned companies and other minority business.
Again, and the reason I'm asking for specificity, because
I just gave you
no. But what I'm saying is no. But you brought up businesses with products on the shelves, and what I'm saying is, it actually goes beyond that. That's limited.
Agree.
And I'm saying, so for the purpose of the audience, so the ask of Target is keep and restore the program that expands the offering of black-owned products on the shelves. That's one.
Or something that is similar to that.
Okay.
And be fully committed to diversity, inclusion, and equity.
But no. But what does that mean?
That means investing in black-owned companies and other minority-type businesses.
No. Through what means? Because I think we have to be specific in the ask.
Am I not being specific?
No, you're no. To be honest with you, you're not. See, I'm just being honest.
You know what? You're saying that I'm not being specific, but I'm being very specific in the ask. If other people have other asks that they want to add onto this, this is a beautiful thing. We're working with Until Freedom right now. We're building an entire coalition around not just, this is bigger than DEI. This is going to be a full frontal attack, Roland, full frontal attack on black people in America. And so we have got to push back on companies like this when they take actions like this. So this is just the beginning.
Oh, no, I know. I totally get that, and I understand that. Well, all I'm simply saying is, again, is the question of, okay, fine, guys, well, for instance, we already know they got 2 black board members. So, guys,
that doesn't mean anything.
No. I get that. Follow me here. I'm going somewhere. Just hold on. What I mean by that is, previously when you've had boycotts, that's been an ask. And so the products on the shelves, that's one. Is it anything related to HBCU initiatives, other businesses? Are we talking about, and again, for them to be articulating, because they announced, I think in 2022 or 23, that they said they had met their goal of the spending. It actually was $1.78 billion. I'm like, no, your press release said you're going to be spending at least $2 billion annually, and $1.78 billion ain't $2 billion. That's short $220 million. That money absolutely matters. And so I think, again, if there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when we are telling our audience and telling the public, here are the demands, then everybody is on the same accord, being very specific in what those demands are. And so that's why when I ask, okay, that one, what else? I got to ask you this here. So you've had black-owned businesses, and I've talked to some of them who come out and said, hey, we're going to be hurt if there's a boycott. Are you saying to people, totally boycott Target, or you're saying if you go to Target, only buy those black-owned products and nothing else? What are you saying? Because that's also part of the conversation, and people have been asking on social media.
I get that. Totally boycott. You can't have boycott Target.
Got it.
To be honest here, a lot of folks are not going in the stores just for that. You would have to have an awareness that those black-owned companies are actually in the store. What usually happens, Roland Martin, is that people go in there, they're shopping for other stuff, and they happen down the aisle and they see this program. We got to be honest about that. If you go into Target, you're going to pick up some toilet paper, some chewing gum, or something. You're not just going to go in there and buy from those black-owned companies and walk out of that store.
So here is, I'm showing you this here while you're talking. Hold on, I'm going to let you finish. I'm saying while you're talking, I'm showing here. So Target, this is their Black History Month page on their website, where they also have on here this category, shop all black-owned or black-founded brands. So keep going. As a matter of fact, hold on. I think I just saw, wait a minute, let me go back. I think they've got Tamika Mallory's book. No, that's her, that's Keke Palmer. I was trying to see whose book they have on the home page here, but go right ahead.
I mean, they're just playing in our face with this. So they making this a novelty, Roland. We cannot allow ourselves as black people just to be a novelty here. That is vitally important, and that is why no, total boycott. And folks who want to support those black-owned brands can go directly to their website.
Right.
If they, and we've made a list of all of those black-owned brands with their website. So we've taken all of the hard part out of it so they can go directly to them.
Questions from our panel. Let me first start with you, Reese. Go.
Roland, you actually stole my question, because the logo, I thought it was just a boycott of Target, but with the kind of exception of buying black brands there, but you clarified it. Nina, can you just tell us the logistics? Like, when does this start? Is it starting yesterday? Is it starting at a particular time? Do you have a specific time frame? And how do you guys plan to measure the traffic or targeting certain areas? I'm just curious about more details about the plan of action.
Yes, it starts on February the 1st. One of the reasons why some people have already started, already. I've talked to several people in some of the reports that some folks in the black community in particular have said they are not shopping at Target. One of the reasons why we decided for February 1 is to give time to be able to organize, and for my organization to be able to put out the organization and pick up the steam that we have. So that's February 1. That's coming up this weekend. And we're getting the information out as much as possible. There have been several national articles written about this. And in particular, there are people right there, in Minnesota, right at the headquarters, who protested this morning about a total boycott of Target. So it's not just we are somebody. It is the people right there in that state where Target is saying we must totally boycott them.
Noah?
Nina, I wonder if you know if there are any if there are any organizations that are actually trying to counter target in terms of have our own Black target, essentially, you know, because it's one thing to boycott, right? But then it's another thing for us to have our own, you know, like you said, it's very difficult to walk into Target and not buy that toilet tissue or buy that gum, all the stuff they have lined up around, you know, the register on purpose, right? And then also then you're going to stop at Starbucks, you know, so it's like all these things that are designed to keep you spending money. Do you know of any plans to where we can go beyond the boycott and essentially have our own Black Targets and Walmarts?
No, I love that question. And I don't know of any specific group right now, but you're broadening this discussion in a way that I'm so glad to see. Again, as I was saying to Roland, this is bigger than DEI, and I want people to see beyond that. The Black community has got to shore up our institutions so that we're not always under threat. When big corporations like this bow down to bigotry, we have got to have our own. Now, we don't totally have our own right now. We have some here and there, but we could we don't have a type of Target right now, but that doesn't mean that we can't have one. And so I am hoping that this starts a broader movement that not only do we shore up the institutions that we have, that we do then create our own Target, if you will, and other outlets like that, so we don't fall prey or victim to corporations when they decide to do something like this. The Black community has been expendable for too long in the United States of America, and we must mount up and organize in ways that don't leave us as vulnerable. And so I'm calling any individual or organization that has ideas that they can lend to help this effort beyond DEI.
Greg?
Thank you, Roland, and it's always good to see you, Sister Turner.
Thank you.
I think you kind of, what you said there at the end really kind of began to answer my question in terms of coalition building within our communities. Glad to hear you say you linking with Until Freedom. I know there's a website, blackdoctor.org, which is a pretty extensive list of Black grocery stores around the country and co-ops where some of those products might consider being placed. So I'll leave that aside. You've answered those kind of things. I would perhaps raise another thing. And again, your to-do list is already listed to infinity. So one other thing, perhaps just for you to maybe comment on, and maybe somebody else could pick this up or add. And I know you want more hands in this struggle, and we all need to be there. Any thoughts on, we see these Robbie Starbucks and these clowns like this who, you know, buy some stock and get involved in this. Any thoughts about the possibility of folks maybe trying to become micro investors and show up at the stockholder meetings? I know that's often in the offing, and maybe try to take a page from their playbook in terms of how we approach these corporations.
Absolutely. I definitely love that idea. There's some talk all the way around. You know, I don't want to jump on other folks' stuff, but I've been having conversations with people who have been thinking in that way, because the only thing that these corporations understand is the almighty dollar. And so there is power in our purchase, and a boycott is just simply consumers going on strike. And we got to let them know, you can't treat us like this. We going on strike, and we can go elsewhere. And the other beautiful thing is that we have so many more options than generations before us have had to be able to show that type of strength. We are not as limited. And so it's Target today, it'll be other corporations tomorrow, but we got to stay in solidarity for justice. And that really is why We Are Somebody launched this boycott, and are more than willing and able to take in other ideas and other people who are willing to join us in this consciousness and justice pushing fight.
The graphic that y'all have on social media, go to my iPad, it says boycott Target only by minority owned. Are there non-Black groups who are a part of this, who are fighting this? And if they're not, why should this be only by Black owned instead of minority owned? Are there Latinos, Asians, others who are standing with Black folks on this?
Yeah, I mean, the action that happened today in Minnesota, the LGBTQ plus community stood side by side with the organization Racial Justice Network. I do believe, Roland, as this picks up more steam, that we will have others who will join on to this. The reason why it is important to identify anti-Black racism, because as we know, linked to anti-Black racism is a type of bigotry and racism against other marginalized communities. So this burden should not just fall on Black people, but when we look at deep-seated liberation in the United States of America, it is usually Black folks who are the conscious.
Oh, no doubt.
So yeah, we need other folks to join.
But here's my whole point, and I totally agree with that, but I need other people speaking up and standing up, because unfortunately what has happened is we have carried the water, we have been the sharecroppers, we've actually carried the burden, and other people have benefited financially as a result of us doing it. And so I would hope that other groups, other non-Black people who have been benefiting from this, staying with us and are as vocal on this when it comes to it, because they benefited far too long from our work.
Agreed. Absolutely.
All right. Folks, go show the graphic again. Go to wearesomebody.com, wearesomebody.org. I'm sorry, wearesomebody.org, wearesomebody.org for more information on this boycott. Nina, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, I want to, I saw something earlier today, and it always amazes me when I hear these Fox News people talk about DEI, who's not hired. And I swear, Ainsley Earhart is one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life. If y'all want to talk about unqualified, this is called getting the job because you're a white woman with blonde hair. This is also the woman who Sean Hannity is going to marry. Listen to what, that ain't it, listen to what, y'all don't have it, the Ainsley Earhart clip. All right. I saw this clip today, y'all, and my Lord, I said, I can't believe this. Y'all, so they were having a conversation this morning on Fox News, and they were talking to a former, we got it now? Thank you. All right, well, okay, well, we got it. Just play it.
Jake, you just don't see it from these divers' perspective, but, you know, as a former door kicker, Navy SEAL, you've flown in those Black Hawks before. When you saw the crash, what was your reaction to that? We're talking about experienced pilots there.
So I talked to one of my pilots that flies into DCA all the time, and he said that the big difference is the commercial airlines have a TCAS system, which is a avoidance system that they have, and the Army helicopters don't have it. The Army helicopters don't have transponders broadcasting locations. So, you know, as a guy that's ridden in helicopters, I'm going to tell you right now, I was down at SEAL Team 8, and we had 5 helicopter crashes down there. Helicopter is not your friend when it's falling out of the sky.
It's a tough question to ask, Jake, but I always think about this when we report on someone who has died. What were those last moments like? Because you don't want anyone to be scared, but you also want people to say their prayers before and have a little bit of time. But if I were in that situation, you just want it to be quick, you know? So do you think when the plane crashes, when something like this happens, there's no pain, right? The people don't experience that.
Golly, can you give me a harder question?
I know,
Golly.
I know, but I just want to make sure they didn't fall through the air and land on the water.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really go out and say that. It was a pretty kinetic crash. We've all seen the big explosion. Obviously, the helicopter's rotor blades went through the bottom of the aircraft. Aircraft turned and crashed into the water. I imagine at most you had probably 8 seconds of just absolute terrifying fear. I mean, we obviously can't go talk to any of the victims, right. But I mean, probably the most horrific thing that you could live through.
Live through? What the fuck is he talking about?
All of them. What are any of them talking about?
Can you explain? Can you explain to us what it felt like in their final seconds? He's alive. He can't tell you what. This fool.
DEI.
This fool, I just want y'all need to fast forward the clip. Fast forward the clip to when she started talking. Because I got to play it again, because I just need y'all to understand. This is the idiot who's one of the 3 co-hosts on Fox and Friends. This is the place where Peter Hegseth was before he became Secretary of Defense. He was a host of Fox and Friends on the weekend. But this right here, I just want y'all to know, if y'all thought Brian Kilmeade was the dumbest one on that show, it used to be Steve Doocy. Then Brian Kilmeade became the dumbest one. Ainsley Earhart, it ain't even close, is truly the dumbest fool on television. And these white folks at Fox News should never talk about qualifications and smarts and anything. Roll it again.
A little bit of time, but if I were in that situation, you just want it to be quick, you know? So do you think when the plane crashes, when something like this happens, there's no pain, right? That people don't experience that?
Golly, can you give me a harder question?
I know,
Golly.
I know, but I just want to make sure they didn't fall through the air and land on the water.
Yeah,
Stop. I want to make sure that they didn't fly through the air and land on the water. Y'all actually fast forward a little bit more, because right before that, she said something about, did they have an opportunity to say a prayer?
Say their prayers.
Bitch, if they had time to pray, he had time to pivot and not ram straight into a damn jet.
It's the disconnected delusion for me. Like this dissonance that they have with reality. You know what I mean? Like, there was no pain, right? In what world would
I'm sorry, a helicopter, a plane on its descent, a helicopter flies into them that causes an explosion, and well, I just want to make sure that they didn't fly through the air and hit the water. According to one report, they found a section of the plane of 27 people still in their seats. So yeah, Ainsley, they hit the fucking water.
It's, Roland, I mean, what we saw there, of course, is DEI.
Actually, here's why I don't use that, because that's how they use it. That's white privilege.
No, that's what I mean. Whiteness is the ultimate DEI. In other words, the only qualification you have is white. And that has been the case for 500 years. And that's exactly what I meant by that. You know, while we were on the air, I got word, and I guess, you know, because I'm not really on social media.
Yeah, I know what you, go ahead.
Well, I got word that Kia Duggins, who was set to be my colleague at Howard over at the Howard University School of Law, was among those who lost her life. And to ask whether or not there was pain, or did you have to say your prayers, that type of stupidity is only suborned in a society where you get not a half pass, not a quarter pass, but a whole pass. And I know you saw Trump sitting in the Oval Office when the reporter asked him today, do you have a plan to go visit the site? And he's like, yeah, what, the water? The water? No. I mean, what, you want me to go swimming? With a smirk on his face. The only way you get, if you said that, they would run you out of the country. You understand? If that had been a black woman sitting there saying that, I can only imagine the vitriol that they received. But more importantly, Professor Duggins and everyone, those children who the gymnasts, I mean, even Nancy Kerrigan, and for God's sake, what's the woman that hit her with the head, hit put on her?
Tonya Harding.
Sonia Harding, even they had statements today. Everybody is in solidarity with feeling the pain of these families, and this person sits up and starts talking about prayers and hitting the water, and still has a job. In fact, you might look around, and if this Junior Huckabee, who worked for Huckabee apparently for 3 years, if she doesn't work out as press secretary, hell, that she might be the next damn White House press secretary. We are past any idea that we can somehow reason with people for whom the defining element of their existence is their whiteness. You can't do that. That's irrational.
I told y'all these people are crazy and stupid, and they're absolutely nonsensical, and they're not smart. So don't ever, you know, I was in a chat, and somebody said, hey, and the way we need to respond to these people, we need to tout our degrees. No, I'm not doing that. I need every black person listen to me right now. And if I sat here and had Nola lay out her credentials, and Greg lay out his credentials, and Reese lay out her credentials, and I lay out my credentials, let me tell you something. These white races, it don't matter. We could have 7 degrees each. You know what they're gonna say? You're a DEI hire. You're a DEI hire. And all y'all white women, they talking to your ass. When the fires broke out, that white woman who was a fire chief in Los Angeles, they call her a DEI hire. You know why? Because she a lesbian. They sat there, they will call you whatever. If I showed y'all how they hit Nancy Mace, Nancy Mace was defending herself. Oh, how I did this, and I got into the Citadel. And them white men like Matt Walsh said, oh yeah, that was a male-only place, and you sued, and that's how you got in. So you got in because of DEI. These white racists, they want heterosexual white men running everything. And guess what, all you dumbass white women, 52% that voted for Donald Trump, they can't stand your ass. I keep telling y'all white women, they want your ass to stay in that kitchen. The only clock they want you to look at is the clock on the stove. They want you to lay down, shut up, don't even moan, and birth their babies, and stay at home and take care of them. And y'all silly asses vote along with these white men. They don't want your ass in the workplace. They are mad as hell that y'all now can get jobs. These white men, they want America from the 1930s and 40s and 50s, when white women knew their place, when black people knew their place, when Asian people knew their place. And Asian folk, y'all can keep, I love it how y'all sued Harvard and won and got rid of affirmative action, but then the white folks kept whiting and kept their places at Harvard, and y'all numbers dropped. Then y'all want to holler, y'all want some quotas.
Well,
Yeah.
that was
I think
Ed
they want
Blunt.
certain women in the workplace just to look at them, not to be functional.
No. They don't even want to look at the white women in the workplace. They don't even want to look at them.
I think so.
No, they don't even want to look at it. They don't want their asses there. And if they are there, they want them to shut the hell up, wear low plunge outfits, and don't say nothing. That's what they want. So people just need to understand what we're dealing with here. I need Democrats to stop trying to reason with these crazy people. People can say, oh no, we need to be able to go talk to them. You cannot reason with a racist and a sexist who wants to tell you they are not a racist and a sexist. Greg mentioned, sister, I saw this moments ago, it came across. This is Kia Duggins, Professor Kia Duggins. This tweet here, she was flying to DC, y'all, to start as a professor at Howard University School of Law in the fall. And she was one of the folks who perished on that plane. And so certainly our condolences go out to her and her family. Let me close the show out with this, and I'm gonna have the panel weigh in on this. I received a text message today from a movement leader, a committed activist, somebody who has put their life on the line. And the person tweeted me and they said, I need you to get me together. I'm feeling discouraged, wanting to cry. The person said, and this is how I responded. I responded by saying, Fanny got hit in the head with a hammer but kept moving. I said John Lewis had his head split open but kept fighting. I said Medgar was gunned down in his driveway, but Murley never gave up. Mother Emanuel was burned down to the ground by the racists, but it was rebuilt. A.J. Smitherman had his paper destroyed in the Tulsa race riot, but he fled to Buffalo and opened another black newspaper. In this moment, freedom fighters have to give our people hope. They want to be led. This is where they are needed the most. Response was, you're right, we've been through and through. I know it's just overwhelming. The ignorance online is really bothering me. I have to stop paying attention to them and stay straight ahead. So for those of you who don't get that, maybe some of y'all are so holy you can understand this in biblical terms. And there are a lot of people, and look, I've gotten text messages, I've gotten phone calls, I've gotten emails, I've gotten people who I know very well, people who have been protesting, people who have been organizing, people who have been mobilizing, and they've been like, Roland, I'm tired. You heard Nola say earlier, I almost didn't come on here. I'm sick and I'm tired. Folk talk about being depressed. They talk about what they're going through. They talk about, I just can't handle it. This is just too much. This is overwhelming. When is this all going to end? And on and on and on. And y'all have heard me say on this show that praise the Lord, the ancestors never gave up. Praise the Lord that the ancestors fought through those moments, but they still said, you know what? We got to keep swinging. So I had to explain something biblical to the person who texted me. And I'm not going to tell you if it's a man or a woman, but I'm just telling you, this is what I said to them. What they are experiencing is no different than what the prophet Nehemiah experienced. Nehemiah was concerned about the people of Israel because he had heard that the wall that protected them had crumbled. It was so bad that the king said, Nehemiah, what's wrong? And Nehemiah told him what was wrong, and he said, well, go check on your people. Nehemiah then went to go check on the people, and then he discovered the destruction of the wall that was around the people. So Nehemiah surveyed the destruction, came up with a God-inspired plan of action, and then went to the people and then told the people what the plan is. Let me say it again. Nehemiah, depressed, despondent, examines the destruction, prays on it, comes up with a plan, goes to the people, and then explains what the plan of action is. The people's response to Nehemiah was, let us rebuild. And they begin to rebuild. And as they begin to rebuild, the haters begin to speak. You can go read Nehemiah 2, 3, 4. You will see where the haters are in there. And the haters said, y'all can't rebuild this wall. The haters said, y'all can't win back the White House. The haters said, y'all can't defeat them. But Nehemiah said, y'all, ignore the haters and keep building. Then the haters were like, oh, y'all are making progress with rebuilding that wall. And then all of a sudden, he said, the haters then said, oh no, we got to stop them from rebuilding the wall. So the haters began to attack them. And Nehemiah said, I need y'all to keep one hand on your weapon and keep your other hand building. It's literally what he said. What ends up happening? The people that actually rebuild the wall. Now remember, the wall provided protection to those who were inside. But what I love about when you read Nehemiah is that they actually list all the people who did the work. If you go through Nehemiah, they list by name. These people built this portion of the gate. These people built this portion of the gate. These people built this portion of the gate. And see, what I love about the plan of action was Nehemiah said, if you live on the north side, don't you worry about who's building on the south side. I need you to focus on building just on the north side. Because there's a whole lot of us right now who are in Charlotte and Houston and who are in Monroe and who are in Miami. And we're so worried about who's doing what in Oakland, in LA, and San Francisco, as opposed to we ain't even paying attention to what's happening in our city, in our neighborhood, on our block, on our street, in our home. The people who did the work in rebuilding the wall had their names mentioned, and they will be known for eternity because they didn't punk out. What am I saying? You might be depressed, despondent, upset, angry, mad, inconsolable that these idiots are in the White House, that they control the House, they control the Senate, they're going to be able to appoint federal judges. You're literally saying, oh my God, the institutions that we have, these people have no guardrails. What you're actually saying is that the wall of protection has crumbled. So what is needed? We discussed this last night with Tiffany Dean Lofton. This is a moment that requires modern day Nehemiahs. This is a moment that requires modern day Nehemiahs to inspect the destruction around us, then begin to pray to God. If you really want to go to Habakkuk chapter 2, write the vision down, make it plain, then wait. You can go read that as well. So this requires modern day Nehemiah to inspect the destruction, communicate with God, come up with a plan, and then take it to the people. See, I saw some of y'all comments in the chat. Y'all were like, why is he pressing Nina Turner so much? Because that's called articulating the plan to the people so the people can say, let us boycott. Let us rebuild. So in this moment, the challenge to black leadership, which Frank Ski talked about in his video, the challenge to black leadership is, are you a modern day Nehemiah? Are you surveying the destruction? Are you then crafting a plan of action? And are then you coming to the people to say, let us rebuild? And then will the people actually stand with you? Because there's a whole lot of people who are more like the haters who are saying, y'all cannot rebuild that wall. There are people who are saying, y'all can't mobilize and organize. Y'all can't get folks out to vote. Y'all can't raise money. Y'all can't do any of this. That's what the haters are saying. And the problem is when too many Nehemiahs are listening to the haters and they don't have their focus on the folks building, then your focus is misplaced. So I said to this person, I need you to stop listening to the haters. In our chat room right now are haters hating on me in the chat. Do you know why I don't care? Because I'm not on their YouTube channel, they on mine. Yikes. See, when you have built something, the haters gonna show up to throw stuff at you. And your response is, in the words of Della Reese from Harlem Nights, kiss my entire ass. Because I don't care. You can't waste your time with haters. You can't waste your time with online trolls. And you can't waste your time with people who do not want to help build. If we are going to deal with the craziness that is already confronting us, then what we have to do, some of us need to go off, take a respite, take a vacation, go away, do a sabbatical. I'm going to help y'all. How do you navigate this here? Folks were blowing me up after 11 a.m. Are you watching this? No, I'm not. What are you doing? I'll see it later. But I'm not talking to you right now, because what was the point of me getting mad and pissed off at 11 a.m. when I don't go live till 6 p.m.? So now for 7 hours, I'm carrying that bullshit around, and now your stress levels are going up. So I said no. So I told this person, get off social media. If you see some bullshit, move past it. And then I said, I was reading Bill Russell's book while I was working out on the treadmill. I then put it down. I had the music going. I had my Vibes mid-tempo playlist going to allow me just to think and process and not read tweets, not read text messages, not take phone calls, but allow me to settle my spirit. And then when I finished working out, had my meal, got ready to come to the office to do what I do. You have to create a plan of action that puts you in a position where you are not stressed and you are not losing your mind. And you're going to have to even tell, listen, my daddy called me. Can you believe this? No, Daddy, I didn't see it. I was respectful. I listened to my daddy, but I wasn't actually trying to have a conversation about what Trump had to say, because I knew what I was going to have to do 7 hours later. And I get it. I get it. And I appreciate my dad calling. And I appreciate my dad texting. But in order for you to deal with what's happening, let me help y'all. He gonna be in there for another 207 weeks. And so you have to create your own personal, what y'all call it? Not self-healing. What's that phrase y'all use?
Self-care.
Yeah, you gotta figure out your own self-care.
Yes, sir.
But the most important thing that you have to figure out is you cannot allow other people's distress to drive your stress, because their distress and your stress prevents you from thinking and coming up with a visionary plan. This is not a moment that is new to black people. I saw this clip of a preacher from Abyssinian Baptist Church. Do understand, Abyssinian Baptist Church, historic church in Harlem. Adam Clayton Powell, Congressman Adam Clayton Powell was the pastor. But not only that, the German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a part of the group who had resolved to kill Hitler because of how evil he was. Are y'all aware that Dietrich Bonhoeffer actually studied black liberation theology at Abyssinian Baptist Church? Yes, he did. This is what the preacher dropped on the congregation on Sunday.
I want you to know today that as we are launching out and as we are speaking truth to power, the first thing I want you to know that this battle is not solely ours, but this battle is also the Lord's too. You see, when you look here in this text and you look at what this scripture shares with us in Deuteronomy, as Moses is speaking to the children of Israel, he's reminding them that this battle is not solely theirs, but it's also the Lord's. That's why he tells them to be strong. That's why he tells them to be courageous. That's why he tells them not to be discouraged. That's why he tells them not to be afraid. It's because he wants them to know that this is also the Lord's battle too. Are we tired? Yes. Are we angry? Yes. Are we exhausted? Yes. Are we frustrated? Yes. Are we weary? Yes. Are we outraged? Yes. Are we determined? Yes. Are we resolute? Yes. Are we scared? Hell no. Hell no. We're black people. We're people of color. I ain't afraid of you. I'll take you out. Hell no. We are not afraid. We are not scared. We are not scared because we've been here before. This is not new to us. This is not our first trip around the sun. No, we've seen all these schemes. We've seen all of your tricks. And I want you to know that what goes around also comes around. Have I got any warriors in here today? Have I got any Martin Delaney's in here today? Have I got any Frederick Douglasses in here today? Have I got any Harry Tubmans in here today? Have I got any Sojourner Truths in here today? Have I got any fighters in here today? We ain't scared. You see, it's in our DNA that we are survivors. It's in our DNA that we are overcomers. It's in our DNA that we are resistors. It's in our DNA that we are defiers. It's in our DNA that we are change makers. It's in our DNA that we are revolutionaries. It's in our DNA that we are prayer warriors. It's in our DNA that we are activists and challengers, liberators and perseverers, prevailers and conquerors, and America's greatest nightmare. No, we ain't scared.
That was Pastor Kevin Johnson. This is a moment where prophetic voices, the Nehemiahs, stand up, but we also need the people to commit to say, we will rebuild. Final comments? I'll start with you, Reese.
I wouldn't dare follow that to try to act like I can preach a sermon, so I'll just say amen. That's it, amen.
Nola?
You know, all of that touched a lot of, hit a lot of the right notes for me. You know, I definitely, my concept of Christianity and religion is built around liberation theology from a Catholic perspective. So for me, social justice, standing up, and, you know, I always joke and say that I know I have at least about 15 good angry slaves living inside of me. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, which is why I'm sitting here tonight. You know, even though my body hurts, my brain hurts, you know, because there's so many people pulling at you. They want your ideas. They want to organize. And, you know, you take all that into your body. And so while I'm thinking mentally, oh, I'm strong, I got this, my body is telling me, no, you need to slow down a little bit. But tonight, after I do this show tonight, I am going to take a few days because my body is telling me, sis, you do need to slow down because I need to be ready for the fights that lay ahead.
Greg?
Yes, sir. 1959, W.E.B. Du Bois wrote an essay called Africa and China. He had spent time with Mao Zedong. Of course, Du Bois had traveled the world by then. He only had another about 4 years to live, but he was approaching his 90th year. Actually, he's 91. And he said, among other things, Africa learned from China. He wasn't just talking to the African continent. He was talking to African people. We are the first humans on the planet. This is our little corner of a cosmic existence that is infinite and eternal. Right now in China, as they unleashed an AI that has embarrassed these white trillionaires and left them scrambling and sent their stock market nosediving for a moment before they recovered with bluster and bravado temporarily, the Chinese are not experiencing panic because they are not just a country, they are a civilization. And they experience even as we just passed the Lunar New Year yesterday, they're experiencing the rise and fall of the West as a temporary condition. Africa learned from China. Africans learned from China. We gave the world the faith tradition, the spiritual tradition that birthed the traditions that birthed what we just heard. First with Judaism, then Christianity, then Islam, the Abrahamic faith traditions, which are only a speck or a small extension of the broad spiritual traditions we have. The ancient Egyptians had a concept that they called ma'at, realizing that all of these things we call religions are pale attempts by human beings to comprehend something that is beyond our comprehension, even as we are part of it. But the Egyptians would say that everything that is always has been. And the things that we experience as tragedies and the things that we experience as painful and the things we experience as somehow irrevocable or inevitable are merely iterations of something that is always balanced. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, they're temporary irritants. They are our wayward children, descended from those Africans who walked out of Africa millennia ago, adapted to other circumstances, and came back into Africa somehow with their minds left and gone. We will not only survive you, we will transcend you. And as long as we remember that we were the first, we gave birth to everyone else, and we will be here after everybody else is gone, we can retain the focus, as Sheikh Anta Diop would say, the calmness to accept the facts as they are, draw on our long memory, not the one that begins with chains, but the ones that begins with the first humans on the planet. And out of that, the solutions we bring will be the solutions that save not only us, but everybody else.
Noah, Reese, Greg, I appreciate all three of you being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, you've heard me say this time and time again, and I'll say it right now. Ain't no millionaires and billionaires contributing to our show, even the black ones. Do you have major advertisers who are spending their ad dollars with us? Absolutely not. Because the agencies say that, well, we don't do news. We can't do news. But I see these ads on Fox News. I see the ads on CNN. I see them on MSNBC. And there were people who literally said, oh, no, this ain't going to work. This is going to fail. Here we are 6 years and 4 months later. 1.58 million followers, started with 157,000. But it's also because of our fan base who contributed. 10,000 people watching live just on YouTube. more on our app, more on YouTube and the other places where we stream. And it's a lot of people, and they're people who I know personally, people who call and ask me to do favors, who don't even contribute to the show. There are people I've seen on social media talk about how we got to support, build our own ecosystem, support our own, who don't actually do it. My man Michael Harriet used to be with The Root, launched something called Contraband Camp. Last night, I signed up, $59.99 for a year. Because I can't say we need more black media, and I can't say that, but then I don't actually support it. Other people who I've actually poured into, invested in. So when I ask you to join us, there are people who are in our YouTube chat who are joining in. We don't charge a subscription fee. There's no minimum amount we charge you. Because the goal that we wanted is for this to be open so people can be able to access it. I was walking through the Atlanta airport when I arrived on Tuesday and I left on Wednesday. And so many brothers and sisters stopped me and they said, man, I'm watching your show. I'm listening to the podcast. Thank you. Keep going, keep going, keep going. But y'all, I say it all the time, we cannot keep going if we can't fund it. The lease of our office is up next year. It's going to be an increase. When we talk about staff, there are some positions that we would love to fill. Today, we actually shot 2 pilots of a show that I would love to launch, and we're going to run those shows in the next 2 weeks. There are 2 of the shows that we're planning pilots on. That's going to cost money for the people producing and working it and for the people who are hosting the show. Because I'm not saying please work for free. But we are not going to be able to have voices that speak for us if we don't support those platforms. So I do what I'm asking you to do. I literally support other black-owned media platforms because we need more of the voices than just me. I'm just one person. But I want to create Black Star Network to create more Black Stars. I want to be able for us to have 6, 8, 10 different shows hosted by Millennial, Gen Z, and other Gen Xers. I tried to do a show with a Generation Alpha, but the ask of his daddy was so outlandish that I said, there's no way I can even do that. But there are others who I'm looking at. Oh yes, when I travel the country, I'm paying attention and I'm looking at people who are 12 and 14 and 15 years old and watching them saying, how can I support what they're doing and build the next generation? So when we ask you to support us, when I say we want 20,000 people on average giving $50 each, which comes out to $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day, y'all, that's $1 million. That $1 million from those folks is huge. Brother hit me today. He said, man, I've been talking about contributing. He said, I finally did it today. He contributed $250. There's some other people I saw, they contributed $10. Somebody contributed $1.08. That 8 cents matters just like it was $800. It all adds up. So what we do here is what nobody else in black-owned media is doing. We are trying to build a network of multiple voices that will speak to our people in a way to serve as giving the clarion call to justice, to truth, to honesty, to decency, the people who are going to cast the vision. And we need you to say, like the people did to Nehemiah, let us rebuild. I would love for all the people who are watching, would love for today for us to raise $100,000. If 2,000 people gave $50, and there's 10,000 of y'all on YouTube right now, we hit that easy. You can't give us direct on the Cash App because they shut down our accounts. So you can use Stripe. This is the QR code. I posted the link directly in the YouTube chat. But if you want to use Cash App for Stripe, it's right here. This QR code, if you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. If you want to give via PayPal, PayPal is paypal.me/rmartinunfiltered. Venmo is venmo.com/rmunfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com, roland@rolandmartinunfiltered.com. If you want to be old school, so your checking money order, Send a check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. And let's say you want to get my book, White Fear. Well, guess what? Every book that we sell of White Fear, the proceeds go right back into the show. And so you can get them at those bookstores. You can go online. I'm trying to here's the whole deal. I would love for us to bypass those stores, and you can actually do it directly. But I'm working through that now. I just got to figure out, I need to have somebody who can actually handle the orders and print the labels and take them to the post office. But I'm working on that. You can get the audio version I read on Audible. I told you my office, they sent me copies of my book, The First. And Terrell, go grab my Listen to the Spirit Within. And I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But if you want to get our merchandise, you can get our merchandise. So pull that up. If you want to get our shirts, our T-shirts, hashtag We Tried to Tell You, FAFO 2025. And also, Don't Blame Me, I Voted for the Black Woman. You can go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. I got an email from them. They saying, oh my God, your store is blowing up. And there are people out there. Look, I know you've had some issues. They had some problem with one of their distribution centers. So we're working through that. But you want to go there. But you can go to blackstarnetwork.com to access our shirts as well. The other book. Then, of course, get my the listening book. Then, of course, you want to download the Black Star Network app. We would love to hit 200,000 downloads. Blackstarnetwork.com. Download on your Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And tomorrow, what I'm going to do is, so my office in Chicago, actually, they found these. So they found more copies of these actually in a closet. So I think they found about 100 copies of my book, The First. And I didn't even realize we had any copies. So my faith-based book I did, Listen to the Spirit Within, 50 Perspectives on Faith. They found about 70 copies of these. And so I'll have the number tomorrow, and then we'll have it available for you can actually buy these books as well. And like I said, I'm working on where you can buy White Fear direct, and I'm going to personally autograph those, but I just got to have somebody who can process the orders. So all of the money from these books goes back into the show. So understand what we're doing. Folks, this is a moment where we have to mobilize and organize and build our entire ecosystem, and media is a part of that. So we want you to be a part of that. So thank you so very much, and I will see you tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. How? Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?